time for another episode of The Oil Stream with Dustin Nielsen and Tom Gazzola, presented by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen.
Happy game day, everyone, and welcome to a rare Tuesday episode of the Oil Stream. Tuesday episodes, just like every other episode, brought to you by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen. Nothing says surprise Tuesday Oil Stream episode like a delicious Popeye's chicken sandwich. Pick one up today. It's game day. Pick something up on the way home tonight. Oilers against the Philadelphia Flyers. May I suggest getting 24 nugs, sitting down at 4 o'clock and listening to this guy, Tommy Gazzola, on the TSN pregame show. Tommy, what's up, buddy?
And might I add, an absolutely star-studded, action-packed TSN 1260 Don Wheaton GM on White pregame show. We're going to have Jason Greger, Jason Stradwick. We're going to have Matt Cassian. We're going to have Connor Halley. And then yours truly. Lots to go over as the Oilers take on the Flyers today. And nothing surely does say Tuesday edition of the Oil Stream like some Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen chicken. I'm out of breath, but that sounds good right now.
Get your hands on the goods right now. Over a dozen locations, a new one coming in St. Albert as well. And they're not going to stop there. I mean, these places are going to be popping up all over the place. Pretty soon you'll be able to walk 2 or 3 blocks in any direction and get yourself a Popeye's chicken sandwich. All right, Tommy, so the Oilers get the Flyers today. 3 games into this road trip. I like the way that they've played. They've only got the 2 points, which we kind of thought if you can come out of those 3 games with 2 points, you'll be all right. Set yourself up for these final 2 games of the trip. Obviously, they are a little banged up, but actually getting healthier than they were on Sunday. Yeah. But I know I had some people text into my show this morning saying, we've seen the Oilers elevate their play against some good teams and then kind of play down to the competition. And I wonder if that might be a little bit different here under Jay Woodcroft with the way the team's played well, maybe frustrated, they haven't got some points. Maybe they come out and I kind of think they're going to put the boots to Philly tonight with McDavid and Draisaitl maybe having a nice night. But Tommy, what's the threat level of a possible letdown here against the Flyers?
I would assume with the way the team's playing, like you, it's like, well, if they maintain this style of play, they should, in theory, be okay. That's the big question mark. Where is this team at mentally as a group? You mentioned the injuries, although they are getting a little bit healthier, like we're going to see this evening. Fully expect Yamamoto to be in action. Duncan Keith, good to go. He wouldn't miss that Thursday game back in Chicago if his life depended on it.
That's a good point.
That, right? And I really think, though, that the Oilers over the past decade and a bit, when they play against perceived lesser opponents, it's a wild card. And I don't think that stink has completely worn off of them and that MO or their reputation. So this will be the test or first real glimpse to see how they handle a lesser team, a Philly team that only has 16 wins. Since they beat the Oilers back on October 27th, they've just won 13 games. Here's the thing about Philly, though, Dusty, is you take away, and your Remchuk brought this up on the lowdown today, you take away the empty net goals, and like in their last 11 games, they're basically playing in 1-goal games. So they might play the Oilers tight. They're going to have to try to gut it out. Philly's been dealing with a ton of injuries. I want to feel assured in the Oilers going in there and, like you said, laying the boots to the Flyers, but there's always that little, a voice in the back of my mind saying, I wouldn't be so sure about that, given how this team historically has played against weaker opponents. So there's always that
2 things with the weaker opponents. I mean, and I think this might be something, I don't want to be critical of these guys, but I do think when you face a weaker opponent, sometimes McDavid and Draisaitl think they can kind of dipsy doodle a little bit, and maybe that kind of, and I think what Woodcroft has done is kind of brought their focus back since he's taken over. So I think they know how important these 2 points are tonight when you see the way Los Angeles has played lately, and I don't know what ends up happening with Vegas, but you're in a pretty heated wild card race right now. So I think if McDavid and Draisaitl can keep their focus where it's been over the last couple of weeks, I think they'll probably be in a good spot there. The reason that I would be a little hesitant tonight against Philly, and I know he's played well as of late, I get it, and this is not just a Koskinen thing. I mean, this is a Mike Smith or a Koskinen thing. You're really not sure ever what you're going to get from your goaltenders, and with the way that Koskinen played played on Saturday and full marks. I mean, the guy was in a zone. He's, he was fired out. You saw him actually show some emotion, which doesn't happen very often. I totally agree with the decision to go back to him tonight against Philly after, you're not going to go to him in the back-to-back situation, but he played really well on Saturday. But I don't think I'm crazy to think, I don't know if Koskinen can do what he just did in back-to-back. I thought he was brilliant against Florida. Probably doesn't need to be brilliant tonight, but he needs to be steady tonight, and maybe he can give them that.
Yeah, and maybe make, the first 10 saves of the game. I'm just gently putting it out there.
If he does that, if he does just that, though, Tommy, they probably win the hockey game.
They score the first goal. They're good when they score first. What are they, 15 or 16-0 through 53 games, which is sad in its own right, and we've reiterated that so many times. But you're right, it's just a crutch this team just can't get by, is allowing 5 or 6 shots without a puck going in. It's sad. Very, very sad. And unfortunately, it looks like it's going to continue through the rest of the year. Hopefully not tonight, though.
Duncan Keith does return to the lineup, Tommy. How do you expect Woodcroft to manage this blue line? I know Broberg's been sent down, just a couple transactions here. Broberg sent down, Perlini sent down, Malone is now here. How do you expect that blue line to be managed with Duncan Keith back? Can you get away eventually from 11-7? I know as you're maybe trying to get back up to speed, you still want to run with that because that's what this coaching staff has been doing. But how do you expect them to manage the blue line with Keith back?
Well, maybe easing Keith back in. That's why they're maintaining this 11-7, and it's kind of worked obviously for them. And Keith kind of sloughed off all the 7 defenseman type thing, and he says he's good to go, and he had no real symptoms and all of that, which is great to hear. That's fantastic. But this is a way for them to manage minutes on the back end, keeping Niemelainen, who's earned that right to stay up and in the mix and playing tonight. And then Keith, you don't bombard him with a ton of minutes right off the hop. Let him get back into action. I think that's a good scenario. And then on top of that, too, with Keith coming back and giving him an opportunity to ease his way back in, I think the fact that the Oilers are so banged up front, too, also adds to the reasoning and rationale to continue with 11-7 rather than playing guys you don't really want to play. And eventually when you get your Puljujärvis back, your Nugent Hopkins back, who's now on a week-to-week basis with his injury, which is not good, and then Cassian also returning at some point. Yamamoto looks like he should be good to go tonight. I think that also factors into getting back to 12-6. But for the time being, 11-7 is working, and I think health on both the back end and up front will dictate if that continues for a while or not.
Nurse Berry, Keith Bouchard, and Niemelainen/Legason with Cody Ceci. That was the D combos. I think I saw a Stoff tweet a little bit earlier today, Tommy. What do you think of Keith and Bouchard together? How do you think that works out?
I think
we haven't seen a lot of it, right?
Here. No, we haven't. And I think, Ceci not being with Keith, I think that's to stabilize those other 2 pairs as well and provide a little bit of veteran savvy and all of that. I think Ceci's been rock steady. Keith was rock steady for a while, and I think that's what it is. Balance will probably be the key term there, and we'll see if that comes through with this group, considering the way it's been playing 5-on-5. In theory, again, should work. That's how I look at it, and I comprehend and understand it because we've seen Bouchard struggle lately, defensively in the offensive zone. Questionable plays, some that have cost them odd man rushes, some that have led to goals against, and they want to get his confidence back up. And one way to do that is to give him someone reliable alongside him on the blue line. And I feel like that's part of it.
All right, let's get into your Ken Morrison Remax question of the day, brought to you by Ken Morrison, 780-993-4815. That's 780-993-4815. You can visit his website, kenrmorrison.com, and he might be, a very successful Remax realtor, but he had 3 teams in my card break last night, and he hit a couple of bangers, so he's got to be pretty happy with that. Keandre Miller, he got an autograph there last night. The fact that I spend the majority of my texts with Ken talking about, we text about 1980s cards, to be honest with you, Tommy. So this guy's one of us. What can I say?
I've known this guy for a long time. He is one of us.
So yes, if you are buying or selling, Ken Morrison's your guy. Tommy, what's the question today, buddy?
The Ken Morrison Remax Excellence question of the day is this, because came up on your show, I'm sure, came up on me filling in for Low Tide, goaltending. And we talked about Koskinen, people throwing out all kinds of stuff on the lowdown. But I'll ask you this. If it comes down to Koskinen, Skinner, and Smith the rest of the way, because Kenny Holland can't find something the rest of the way, do you have confidence that that trio or some combination of it can get the Oilers into the postseason and then even win a round for this team?
Into the postseason, yes. I think this team is good enough with one of those guys giving them some reliable goaltending between the pipes. I think their goaltending right now, I'm not going to say I don't think it's playoff caliber goaltending, but I think the team is good enough to get to the playoffs with those goaltenders. As for winning a series, no, I don't think you can win a series with those guys. I almost wanted to say yes, because you never know. McDavid and Draisaitl could combine for 24 points in a playoff series, and they could just outscore the opposition and win it. It also comes down to who they're going to play, and that's why I hesitated, because in my mind I'm like, okay, well, could they beat the Kings in a playoff series with those goaltenders? Maybe they could do that, but could they beat Vegas? Could they beat Calgary in the first round with those goaltenders? If they finish in the last wild card spot and face Colorado, they're not going to beat the Colorado Avalanche with that goaltending. So to the playoffs, yes. In the playoffs, no. Which I'd be shocked if we're coming on the oil stream, depending on who the matchup is. I mean, with Colorado, I don't think they're be winning anyway, but I'd be shocked if we come on the oil stream after they get eliminated from the playoffs, assuming they get in, and you and I are sitting here going, wow, you know what wasn't the issue? Goaltending. Boy, those goalies really gave them a chance. Like I'd be very impressed if that happened, but I'd also be absolutely shocked, Tommy.
Tell you what, you look at the Vegas Golden Knights situation, their goaltending's iffy right now because Leonard's all banged up.
You're going to do it, aren't you?
Yeah, they got to roll with Laurent Brossoit. LA, do you really trust an old Jonathan Quick and an unproven Cal Peterson who has had a very good season? I don't know. Playoffs are a different beast. So I do think some combination of this trio of Koskinen, Smith, and Skinner, which is important here, could get this team into the playoffs, or will get this team into the playoffs. And then in the postseason, will a combination of those three help them actually win a series? I say yes, but only if it's Stuart Skinner and he gets hot in a ton of confidence. Yeah.
What about the strategy of starting 3 different goaltenders in the same series, Tommy? Wouldn't that be something? That'd be the perfect way to put the finishing touches on this era of Oilers goaltending. You know, they're in a series against whoever, and it's Mike Smith starts game 1, doesn't go well. Koskinen starts game 2, doesn't go well. Skinner starts game 3 and wins. Skinner plays game 4, doesn't go well. They go back to Smith. Smith wins. Starts game 6, doesn't go well. Koskinen starts game 7. That would be insane. Absolutely insane.
It would be perfect for this season, the way this season has gone. I don't know if the cavalry's coming in on the goaltending front. I'm sure they're trying. I feel like they are every day. And what a mess.
It is a mess. But is that your Ken Morrison Remax question of the day? We will be talking about goaltending between now and the deadline. We'll be talking about goaltending after the deadline up to the playoffs. And we'll be talking about goaltending in the playoffs and then in the offseason as well. That's just how it works here. 2 other things that I want to get to. I want to get to this one question from Westy, or a comment from Westy on the live stream here. He says, I have a feeling deep in the pit of my stomach that they're going to trade Jesse Puljujarvi and keep Evander Kane. That stinks of Ken Holland. I will say right now, mark it down, 1:15 on March 1st here in Chinstrap Awareness Month. It would be the biggest mistake they could ever make to trade Jesse Puljujarvi and keep Evander Kane. The one thing I've noticed with Evander Kane and other teams that are watching and maybe scouting him for next season, he has no burst. Evander Kane hasn't shown, and he's produced, don't get me wrong. If he actually could still get around the ice like he did in San Jose, could be a really good player, but we just haven't seen that yet. I'm not sure there's enough time for him to get back there this year. That'd be a massive mistake. I think, at least.
I don't think it's going to happen. There's a couple of reasons. Performance, points and production, that is great. That's why they brought him in, right? Added depth for that, and that's fantastic. Hopefully he finds that burst. But I don't think he's even in the cards for the future of this franchise. And talking to people in and around the organization, I was told, they just don't have the money for him next year or going forward. And that's a pretty clear indicator that there's other priorities like a Jesse Puljujärvi to get signed before even considering a guy like Evander Kane. And that's just in my discussions with people that are in hockey ops. So that's my take on it. And Westy, to your pit of your stomach, that gut feeling, hopefully that quells some of the issue there.
Calming everybody down. Nice work, Tommy. Hey, before we go, Brad Malone, what do you expect from him? Like when we watch the game tonight, what should we see from Malone?
Oh, very fired up because he's playing in career game number 200 and almost 3 years since his last NHL game, which is, incredible, but kind of tells you where he's at in his career. Just expect a lot of jam from him when he does actually get out on the ice, finish his checks, be rambunctious, mix it up. He's the guy that brings sandpaper. That's been his thing since he was first breaking into the National Hockey League, and that's what they want him for. And that's why they almost brought him up like 2 months ago, is to give some jam and to play like an asshole on the ice, which is something the Oilers lacked at the time, maybe still lack a little bit, and that's why he's in the lineup. But Brendan Perlini, a lot of people brought him up too, and the way he was waived, which isn't great, and his mom kind of being the one pointing everything out on Twitter. But, it shouldn't really be a big surprise in the grand scheme of things because they haven't had a ton of faith in him, whether it was Dave Tippett behind the bench or Jay Woodcroft. For him, he was just kind of like that extra guy. And some people brought up like Kyle Turris. Why is he still around? He's on IR. He's skating with the team. He's just kind of there until they get healthy bodies. And I don't think he's going to be playing anytime soon. But Perlini assigned to Bakersfield, as was Broberg. I know it stinks because he's a great guy, has some fantastic quotes, great outlook on life.
I like him a lot, but it's just business, right? Like, that's just how it is.
On the ice, few goals, that's great. He doesn't play special teams or a great 200-foot game.
There you go. That's a game day episode of the Oil Stream brought to you by Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen. Tommy's going to be on the air at 4 o'clock this afternoon, pregame. All your postgame coverage probably getting fired up around 8 o'clock, just before 8 o'clock tonight on TSN at 1260 with him and Hernan Salas. Tommy, enjoy the game, buddy, and I guess I will see you in person tomorrow at TSN 1260.
Amazing. It's great to see you. Until then, my friend, ciao for now.
All right, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. And if you are listening on the podcast, we appreciate the support. Leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts. Toss out a comment. That'd be great. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode of The Oil Stream.